morning. You're now with me, Radzi Ahmad, for TVS Nightline. Here are the headlines for tonight. The Sarawak State Level Malaysia Day celebration in Bintulu tonight concludes with a bang. Meanwhile, more than 2,500 people across 6 districts in Sabah are forced from their homes by floods and landslides. Leaders of Arab and Muslim countries are turning up the pressure on Israel, calling for a reassessment of ties with the Zionist regime. The Sarawak State Level Malaysia Day celebration in Bintulu has just wrapped up after putting a lively display of patriotism, unity and diversity all night. Thousands turned out for the event, which boasted cultural performances, a flag-raising ceremony led by the Sarawak Governor and Premier, and capped with a brilliant fireworks display and a star-studded concert. Here are the key takeaways from tonight's celebration.
Earlier tonight, Premier of Sarawak, Dato' Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg, emphasised that this year's Malaysia Day highlighted Sarawak's major gains, especially in reclaiming the state's rights under MA63.
Perjanjian Malaysia 1963. Di kesempatan ini saya ingin berkongsi bersama beberapa kejayaan kita, khasnya di bawah pentadbiran GPS. Apabila kita bercakap tentang Hari Malaysia, kita tidak boleh lari daripada menyentuh tentang Perjanjian Malaysia 1963, dokumen bersejarah yang menjadi asas kepada pembentukan Malaysia. Banyak kemajuan telah dicapai dalam mengembalikan hak Sarawak yang telah terhakis. Antaranya adalah pindaan kepada Perlembagaan Persekutuan pada tahun 2021, di mana Tuan Yang Terhormat ketika itu menjawat jawatan Menteri Undang-Undang, turut terlibat dalam proses mengembalikan status Sarawak sebagai rakan sekutu setaraf dalam pembentukan Malaysia pada tahun 1963.
Among the key milestones achieved, he also cited the 2021 constitutional amendment, restoring Sarawak's status as an equal partner, state control over LPG with Petros as sole aggregator, recognition of JKR, JPS and JBulb as technical departments, and Sarawak's permanent representation in the Inland Revenue Board LHDN. Abang Johari also noted labour law reforms to better protect workers and the transfer of Bintulu Port from federal to state control, which consolidated Sarawak's ownership of all of its ports and boosting its role as a regional logistics hub. Additionally, Sarawak's recent hosting of the MA63 Implementation Action Council meeting in Kuching, chaired by Prime Minister Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim, symbolised Putrajaya's continued commitment to the process.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim says Malaysia Day is not just about commemorating a historic anniversary, it's a symbol of unity in diversity. He stresses that the September 16th celebration honors the courage of past generations who fought colonial rule and laid the groundwork for an independent nation.
In his speech at the National Malaysia Day celebration earlier tonight, Anwar warned that racial extremism and religious fanaticism must be tackled to safeguard the nation's sovereignty and independence.
Pagi tadi saya baru balik dari Doha. Sidang darurat, sidang segera, emergency, negara-negara Islam dan Arab. Setelah Israel menyerang Doha, Qatar. Dan terus-menerus menghancurkan Gaza dan Palestin tebing barat. Apa yang saya dapat saksikan? Seluruh kekuatan dunia Islam dan Arab sukar menyaingi kekuatan Israel, tentunya didukung oleh Amerika Syarikat. Apa pengajarannya? Negara merdeka dan berdaulat mesti bersatu. Mesti meleburkan kebencian dan prasangka antara kaum dan agama dan wilayah. Mesti menentukan bahawa sikap pelampau sama ada kaum atau fanatik agama atau suku kaum dan faham wilayah sempit mesti dibanteras untuk menjamin kelangsungan hidup negara yang berdaulat dan merdeka.
After more than 10 hours of search and rescue efforts, the last victim of the landslide in Kampung Marahang Tuntul, Papar, was found at 8:45 p.m. with the operation concluding at 2:05 a.m. Sabah Fire and Rescue Department Director Muhammad Pisar Aziz said the last victim, a 10-year-old girl, was confirmed dead at the scene. The incident, which occurred at 9:20 a.m. yesterday, involved a mother and her 2 children who were reported to have been buried under the debris. The first victim, a 34-year-old woman, was found at 4:20 p.m., while her 6-year-old son was located 5 minutes later. He said the Papar Fire and Rescue Station team arrived at the scene at 9:34 a.m. after receiving a call regarding the landslide involving a house at 9:20 a.m. The discovery of the little girl brings the total number of fatalities from the landslide in Sabah since last Friday to 13. More than 2,500 people across Sabah have been forced from their homes by floods and landslides. Sabah State Disaster Management Committee officials say as of 12 noon, 668 families from 6 districts, Beaufort, Penampang, Tawau, Membakut, Papar and Putatan, are now sheltering in 22 temporary evacuation centers. Penampang is hardest hit, with 910 evacuees from 244 families. 8 temporary evacuation centers have been opened there, including at SK St. Paul Colopis, Huguan Siu Hall, Penampang Sports Complex, Kampung Sarapong, Ramaya Hall, Inobong Hall, Bukitas Community Hall, and Parish Hall. Meanwhile, Membakut District reported more than 600 people displaced, while Putatan moved 113 families into 4 shelters. In Papar, evacuations are climbing, as 224 people from 65 families have been moved. As of time of reporting, 2 ad hoc shelters at Lokkawi Height Hall and Kampung Mo'o Community Hall are now open, housing more than 100 people. Welcome back. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Fadillah Yusof is leading Malaysia's delegation to the 22nd China-ASEAN Expo, or Ka-Expo, in Nanning, Guangxi, running from today through September 23rd. Petra, the Ministry of Energy Transition and Water Transformation, says Malaysia's participation in the Expo is vital in strengthening its role as coordinator of the ASEAN-China dialogue relations. The Expo is also expected to open doors for strategic investments, regional infrastructure development, smart cities, and green technology innovation.
During the visit, Fadilah is scheduled to hold a high-level meeting with China's Vice Premier Liu Guozhong to discuss bilateral cooperation in water management. It covers technology exchange, capacity building, and sustainable initiatives. The Malaysian delegation will also visit Beijing and Chongqing, with a focus on renewable energy, energy storage, next-gen nuclear technology, and innovative flood control models like sponge cities to tackle climate change. Petra says this initiative aligns with the National Energy Transition Roadmap and the 2040 Water Transformation Plan, ensuring long-term energy and water sustainability. And with China as Malaysia's largest trading partner, the visit is expected to draw high-impact investments in clean energy and green technology, further solidifying Malaysia's role as a resilient regional partner.
More than 10 countries have expressed interest in being accredited by Jakim's halal certificate and are currently being audited. This reflects not just confidence in Malaysia's halal certification, but a standard globally recognized. Jakim's Director General, Dr. Sirajuddin Suhaimi, revealed that China and Russia are among the countries awaiting audit.
On the list tu saya rasa lebih daripada 10. They are waiting to be audited and to be recognized by Malaysia and by Jakim, insyaAllah.
At the same time, Sirajuddin emphasized that Jakim's halal certification for global utilization will be made through a letter of recognition and not through an MOU. Such practice is only conducted with organizations in Malaysia seeking halal certification, particularly in technology development cooperation.
Itu kita buka sebarluaskan, terpulang kepada mana-mana entiti untuk adakan MOU tersebut.
He spoke after the launching ceremony of the Global Halal Summit 2025 that houses participants from almost 50 countries and international halal agencies.
Arab and Muslim leaders are turning up the pressure on Israel, calling for a reassessment of ties with the Zionist regime during emergency talks in Doha yesterday, triggered by last week's deadly strike on the Qatari capital. In a rare joint session, the Arab League and Organization of Islamic Cooperation, representing nearly 60 countries, pledged to take a harder line after Israel targeted Hamas officials in Qatar as they discuss a Gaza ceasefire proposal.
A joint statement from the summit urged all states to take all possible legal and effective measures to prevent Israel from continuing its action against the Palestinian people, including reviewing diplomatic and economic relations with it and initiating legal proceedings against it. The statement also urged member states to coordinate efforts aimed at suspending Israel's membership in the United Nations.
We also expect our strategic partners in the United States to use their influence on Israel in order for it to stop this behavior. We really do expect that. They have leverage and influence on Israel, and it's about time that this leverage and influence to be used.
Malaysian Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim also at the summit urged tougher collective action to halt Israeli aggression, defend the sovereignty of Arab Islamic states and protect the rights of the Palestinian people. He said Malaysia emphasizes full support for Qatar, which has fallen victim to the brutal attacks of the Israeli Zionist regime, while strengthening consensus to defend Palestine. Meanwhile, U.S. State Secretary Marco Rubio arrived in Qatar today after pledging unwavering support for Israel during a visit to the country. The attacks strained ties between Washington and key allies in the Gulf, raising concerns over U.S. security guarantees in a region housing major U.S. assets, including a major military base in Qatar. The U.S. State Department said Rubio would reaffirm America's full support for Qatar's security and sovereignty after last week's strike.
Israel has launched a heavy bombing campaign on Gaza City, intensifying its offensive amid mounting international concern. The strikes follow U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's visit to Israel, where he reaffirmed support for Israel's goal to eliminate Hamas and warned that time is running out for a diplomatic solution.
Meanwhile, a UN investigation is accusing Israel of committing a genocide in Gaza and targeting the Palestinian population, naming top Israeli leaders for incitement. Gaza City is already devastated by nearly 2 years of relentless bombardment, though the status of a planned ground assault aiming for expulsion of refugees in the city remains unclear. Families of Israeli hostages say they fear the latest escalation could derail efforts to reach a deal for their release.
And those were the updates on TVS Nightline. I'm Razi Ahmad. Thank you for watching and have a good night.